Welcome to Prayer and Bible Band, Lesson 10. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is conflicts between sisters. The background reading is coming out of Genesis chapter 24, verse 59, Genesis chapter 29, verses 17 through 31, Genesis chapter 30, verses 1 and 2, and then verses 15 through 16, Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 11, John chapter 11, verses 1 through 5, and then verses 19 through 35, verse 39, and then verse 46. The devotional reading is Genesis chapter 31, verses 4 through 14. The central verse is Genesis chapter 30, verse 8. I will read the King James Version first and then the New Living Translation. And Rachel said, "With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I prevailed, and she called his name Naphtali." The New Living Translation of Genesis chapter 30, verse 8. Rachel named him Naphtali, for she said, "I have struggled hard with my sister, and I'm winning." The key terms for today's lesson: wrestle, prevail, barren, fertile, mandrake. Wrestle, to contend by grappling with and striving, to trip or throw an opponent down or off balance. Prevail, to gain ascendancy through strength or superiority, to be or become effective, effectual. Barren, not reproducing, incapable of producing offspring. Fertile, producing or bearing many crops in great quantities, capable of growing or developing. Mandrake, a Mediterranean herb. Mandragora, Officinarum, of the nightshade family, with large ovate leaves, greenish yellow or purple flowers, and a large, usually forked root resembling a human in form and formerly credited with magical properties. The story of Leah and Rachel was the first and only story of sister wives recorded in the Bible. This story teaches the believer that the challenges they face in relationships are not new. God will give grace to overcome unnecessary heartaches and overcome every comparison trap in any relationship. Jacob, the son of Isaac, had left home because of his conflict with his brother Esau. He came to the land of the east, where he noticed an open field where shepherds gathered to water their sheep. He approached the men and asked them where they were from. They told him that they were from Haran. Jacob asked them if they knew Laban, the son of Nahor. Just as he was inquiring about Laban, they told him that Laban's daughter Rachel was coming with her father's sheep. Laban was Jacob's mother's brother, and Rebekah and Rachel were his cousins. When Jacob saw Rachel arriving with her father's sheep, he immediately got up and rolled the stone from the mouth of the well and watered the sheep of his uncle. Normally, it would take several men to move the stone. He kissed Rachel, broke into tears, and told Rachel who he was. Rachel ran home and told her father that his sister's son was there, and how he had helped her when he moved the stone and watered the sheep. Laban ran and met his sister's son and brought him to his home. Laban made an agreement with Jacob because he had immediately fallen in love with Rachel. Jacob agreed to work 7 years for Laban in exchange for Rachel, the younger daughter, to be given to him as his wife. Laban agreed, but when the 7 years were up and Jacob asked for his wife, Laban gave him the older sister Leah. In the morning after the wedding night, Jacob realized it was Leah, not Rachel, that he had wedded. Jacob was upset. He went to Laban and told him that he had worked for Rachel, so why had he fooled him and given him Leah? Laban explained that the younger daughter could not marry before the older daughter. He told him that if he would work another 7 years, then he would give him Rachel also. Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. These two sisters were in this conflict, not because of what they had done, but because of the deceitfulness of their father. Even though they didn't create the problem, it became their problem, and they had to deal with it. It caused much heartache, pain, and frustration to these two sisters. To make things more complicated, the sister that Jacob loved more was barren and could not give him children. But Leah was very fertile and was able to give him several sons. This made Rachel very unhappy. And when a person is unhappy, they want to find someone to vent their frustration on. The relationship became very strained in the house between Rachel and Leah, for Rachel accused Leah of trying to take her husband. This caused much distress between the sisters and caused Jacob to be caught in the middle. Jacob must have said or done something to Leah because she knew that Jacob didn't love her. Leah had to bear the hurt that came from her sister and her husband. She was caught in a situation that was not of her own doing. Her father had created this hurtful conflict, but she was the one who had to deal with it. It seemed like everything that Leah did irritated Rachel. The fact that she was having beautiful sons for Jacob was enough to keep her sister in a hurt and defensive attitude. Leah had bore Jacob 3 sons before she seemed to realize that Jacob was never going to love her. She realized that neither she nor her sister created this problem, but she had to move on with her life. Pregnant with her 4th son, she decided that it did not matter if Jacob loved her, because she would name her child Judah regardless. The name meant praise, and Leah was determined to do exactly that, reveling in the birth of another healthy son. Poor Rachel was so unhappy that she verbally attacked her husband. In Genesis 30, verses 1 and 2, when she saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? She told Jacob to take her maid Bilhah and have sex with her, so she could bear him some children through the maid. Her maid gave her 2 sons. She was so happy that she declared that she had won over her sister. Reuben, Leah's oldest son, went into the field and found mandrakes, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then in Genesis chapter 30, verse 15, Rachel asked Leah for some. And Leah said to her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband, and now you want to take my son's mandrakes as also? Rachel told Leah that she would get Jacob to lie with her that night for her son's mandrakes. Leah met Jacob in the field and asked him, and he did. God blessed her, and she got pregnant again and gave Jacob a 5th son. She finally gave him a 6th son and then a daughter. You cannot ignore problems. They won't go away. If a person wants to be whole and wants to be happy, they must allow God to help them. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And that's Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6. Finally, God remembered Rachel and opened her womb, and she was able to give Jacob his son Joseph, whom he loved clearly or dearly. While traveling on the road, Rachel died, giving birth to her 2nd son, Benjamin. The questions for today's lesson. Number 1, what was the conflict between the 2 sisters? Number 2, what was the cause of the conflict? Number 3, how was this conflict solved? Number 4, how do you handle conflicts that you didn't cause? The essential thought: when you don't have answers to the problems you face, give them to Jesus. He'll work them out for you. The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.